Hey there, joyful seniors. Have you ever stopped to think about why life can feel like you're carrying a backpack full of bricks, even when you got all this incredible wisdom and experience lighting your way? Well, here's a little secret I've learned, and I bet you felt it too. After 70, there are things we've been holding on to for years that just don't matter anymore. And the best part? Letting them go might just unlock the happiest, most carefree chapter of your life yet. Welcome back to the Joyful Senior, where we're all about living lighter, laughing louder, and loving this beautiful season of life. Today, we're diving straight into something I know you'll relate to. 7 things that don't matter anymore after 70, and why letting go leads to a happier life. Picture this. You're stressing about keeping up with the grandkids' latest tech obsession, or maybe you're beating yourself up over a pie that didn't turn out picture perfect. Sound familiar? We've all been there. But here's the truth. At this stage, you've earned the right to ditch the pressure and embrace the peace. We're talking about letting go of pleasing everyone, chasing perfection, worrying about stuff you can't control, and so much more. I'll even share a little story about Margaret, a spunky Ohio grandma who figured out that falling behind the world's crazy pace was the best thing that ever happened to her. So, grab your coffee, settle into that cozy chair, and let's explore how shedding these burdens can set you free. Trust me, by the end, you'll be ready to lighten your load and smile a little brighter. Let's get started. The 7 things that don't matter anymore after 70. 1. Letting go of pleasing everyone. First up, let's talk about something we've all wrestled with. Trying to make everyone happy. You know the drill, saying yes to every favor, biting your tongue to keep the peace, or worrying what the neighbors think about your overgrown lawn. After 70, though, that people-pleasing game, it's time to hang it up. You've spent decades bending over backwards, and for what? Half the time, folks don't even notice, and the other half, they've moved on to complaining about something else. The truth is, their opinions aren't your burden to carry anymore. Why doesn't it matter? Because life's too short to live for someone else's applause. You've earned your stripes, you've raised kids, helped friends, paid your dues. Now, it's your turn to decide what feels right for you. Letting go of this means no more guilt trips when you skip that extra potluck dish or say no to a draining visit. Instead, you get freedom. Freedom to sip your tea in peace or watch that old Western you love without justifying it to anyone. Here's a little tip. Next time someone asks too much, just smile and say, "I'd love to, but I've got a date with my recliner." It works like a charm. The beauty of 70 is knowing your worth doesn't hinge on everyone else's approval. So, take a deep breath, shrug off that need to please, and watch how much lighter your heart feels. Happiness isn't about keeping score. It's about keeping your joy. 2. Releasing the pursuit of perfection. Next, let's tackle perfection, that sneaky little thief of joy. How many times have you stressed over a lumpy gravy or a crooked picture frame, thinking it's got to be flawless? After 70, perfection's just a ghost story we tell ourselves. You don't need a magazine cover life anymore. Honestly, you never did. Those little messes, they're proof you've lived, loved, and laughed along the way. Why doesn't it matter? Because nobody's grading you, not your kids, not your friends, not even that nosy lady at the grocery store. Life's too big and wild to fit into a perfect box, and at this age, you've seen enough to know good enough beats perfect every time. Letting go of this chase means you stop sweating the small stuff and start savoring the real burnt pie or the story behind that chipped teacup. When you release perfection, you trade stress for peace. Imagine this. You're hosting dinner. The table's a little cluttered, and you just shrug and say, "Hey, it's home, not a museum." Suddenly, you're laughing with your guests instead of fussing in the kitchen. Try this. Next time something's not quite right, chuckle at it. Those quirks make life yours. After 70, happiness isn't in the flawless moments. It's in the real ones. So let perfection float away like a helium balloon and watch how much room you got left for joy. Third, not keeping up with trends and technology. All right, number 3, keeping up with trends and tech. TikTok dances, smartwatches, whatever the kids are buzzing about. Do you really need to be on top of it all? After 70, this race just isn't your lane anymore. I mean, who's got the energy to figure out the latest app when you're still mastering the TV remote? And that's okay. Why doesn't it matter? Trends come and go faster than a summer storm, and your value isn't tied to knowing the hottest hashtag. You've lived through rotary phones, black and white TV, and bell bottoms. You're a walking history book, and that's way cooler than any gadget. Letting go of this pressure means less frustration and more time for what you actually enjoy. Maybe it's flipping through a photo album or chatting with a friend. No Wi-Fi required. The payoff? You stop feeling left behind and start feeling ahead of the game. Your game, your rules. Here's a trick. Pick one tech thing, like texting "love you" to the grandkids, and call it a victory. The rest? Let it slide. After 70, happiness isn't about being with it. It's about being with what matters. So ditch the tech stress and let the world spin without you chasing its tail. You'll be amazed how peaceful it feels. Fourth, letting go of worries you can't control. Number 4 hits home for a lot of us, worrying about things we can't fix. The weather ruining your picnic, the news blaring bad headlines, or your grown kids making questionable choices. Sound familiar? After 70, it's time to put that worry wagon in park. You've seen enough storms, literal and figurative, to know fretting doesn't change a thing. Why doesn't it matter? Because you can't control the wind, the world, or other people's paths. You've got wisdom now, not a magic wand. Holding on to these worries just weighs you down, stealing sleep and serenity for no good reason. Letting go means you hand the reins back to life and trust it'll sort itself out, like it always has. The reward? A calmer mind and a lighter spirit. Picture this. Instead of pacing over tomorrow's rain, you're sipping cocoa, watching the drops fall and thinking, well, the garden needed it. Try this. Write one worry on a scrap of paper, then rip it up. Feels good, right? After 70, happiness comes from focusing on what you can hold. Your coffee, your memories, your smile. Let the rest drift away like clouds and feel the peace settle in. 5. Stopping comparisons with others. Let's move to number 5. Comparing yourself to others. You know the trap. Your neighbor's got a shiny new car, your friends posting vacation pics, and you're wondering why your life doesn't look like theirs. After 70, it's time to kick that habit to the curb. Your story's yours, and that's the only one that counts. Why doesn't it matter? Because nobody's life is as perfect as it looks. Everyone's got their own bumps, even if they hide them behind an Instagram filter. You've walked a road nobody else has, and that's your gold. Letting go of comparisons stops that joy-stealing scoreboard in your head and starts a gratitude party instead. What's the upside? You feel prouder of what you've built. Your family, your home, your quirks. Next time you catch yourself envying someone, flip it. Say, I'm glad I've got my cozy porch and my old dog. After 70, happiness isn't about measuring up. It's about cherishing what's yours. Drop the comparison game and watch your heart lift like a kite on a breezy day. 6. Forgiving and releasing resentment. Number 6 is a big one. Holding on to grudges. That old family spat, the friend who let you down. After 70, those heavy bags of resentment, they've got to go. You've carried them long enough, and they're not doing you any favors. Why doesn't it matter? Because clinging to anger only burns you, not them. They've moved on, and you deserve to too. You got too many good years left to waste on bitterness. Letting go, whether you tell them or just decide in your heart, frees you from that ache and makes room for healing. The gift here is peace, plain and simple. Imagine cutting the string on a balloon and watching that grudge float away. Lighter, right? Try picturing it next time an old hurt pops up. After 70, happiness is in the forgiveness you give yourself as much as anyone else. Let it go and feel your soul breathe again. 7. Easing the pressure to be productive. Finally, number 7, the pressure to always be productive. Society's obsessed with to-do lists and hustle, but after 70, you've earned a time out. You don't need to prove anything by scrubbing floors or cramming your day full. Why doesn't it matter? Your worth isn't in how much you check off. It's in who you are, what you've lived. You've raised families, worked hard, made memories. That's enough. Letting go of this means trading guilt for grace, giving yourself permission to just be. The joy? You get to sit with a cup of tea, watch the birds, or nap without apologizing. Swap one chore for fun, like reading a mystery novel, and soak it in. After 70, happiness is in the slow moments, not the busy ones. Ease up and let life feel sweet again. Let me introduce you to Margaret Elaine Harper, a 72-year-old firecracker from Millfield, Ohio, a sleepy town where the biggest event is the annual Corn Festival. Picture her, a petite woman with a cloud of silver hair pinned in a loose bun, always wearing a faded floral apron dotted with flour from her latest baking experiment. Her hazel eyes crinkle when she smiles, and she's got this habit of humming Sinatra. Fly Me to the Moon is her go-to while tending her daisies out back. Her little yellow bungalow with its chipped paint and creaky porch swing smells like cinnamon and old books. Margaret's the kind of grandma who keeps a jar of homemade oatmeal cookies on the counter, even if they're a tad crumbly. But Margaret had a problem. She felt like the world was a train she'd missed. Her grandkids, 13-year-old Tyler and 10-year-old Sophie, would visit, noses buried in their phones, giggling at TikTok she couldn't decipher. Her neighbor, Linda, flaunted photos of a Caribbean cruise, while Margaret's biggest trip was to the Walmart in Athens, 20 miles away. She'd sit at her scratched oak kitchen table, staring at her clunky laptop that refused to load Zoom for the church book club, muttering, "I'm a fossil in a rocket age." It gnawed at her. She'd raised 3 kids, survived a factory job, and outlived her husband, Tom. But somehow, she felt left behind. Then came that Tuesday at Millie's Diner. The red vinyl booths squeaked as she slid in across from Doris, her best friend since grade school. Over a plate of greasy fries and the jukebox crooning Patsy Cline, Doris, wire-rimmed glasses fogged from coffee steam, grinned and said, "Maggie, we've seen rotary phones turn into FaceTime and gas at 25 cents a gallon. Let the kids have their gadgets. We've earned our slow lane. Margaret froze, ketchup packet in hand. It clicked. She wasn't failing. She was free. After that, she traded her laptop for a flip phone just for calls and stopped chasing perfection in her lopsided scarves she knit for the grandkids. She'd sit on a swing, sipping sweet tea, watching the fireflies dance at dusk and chuckle, "I'm not outdated, I'm a classic," like Sinatra on vinyl. That shift brought a peace she hadn't felt since Tom was alive. Margaret's proof, letting go isn't losing, it's finding your way home. So what can we take from Margaret? Her big lesson is this: you don't have to run the world's race. Aging means shedding what doesn't fit anymore, and that's not weakness, it's strength. Margaret realized chasing society's speed was a trap, and once she stopped, she found something better: herself. It's universal, really. We all hit that moment where enough feels richer than more. Whether it's tech, trends, or old hurts, letting go isn't giving up. It's choosing what fills your cup. Margaret didn't just survive slowing down. She thrived, proving that after 70, happiness is in the things you release, not the things you grab. You've got permission to step off the treadmill too. Your peace is waiting. As your host here at The Joyful Senior, I've felt this in my own life. I used to fuss over every tech glitch, like when my email wouldn't sync, or feel bad about dusty shelves. But one day, I just thought, who's this for? Letting go of that pressure? It's like opening a window on a stuffy day. Now, I'll sit with my tea, watch the clouds, and think, this is plenty. What about you? Maybe it's that grudge you've nursed too long, or the urge to keep up with every fad. What's one thing you're ready to drop? I'd love to hear it, because when we share, we lighten the load together. For me, it's been about saying, I've done enough and I'm enough. That's the gift of 70, knowing you're free to just be you. Well, joyful seniors, there you have it. Our journey through the 7 things that don't matter anymore after 70 is in the books. Let's recap real quick. We've talked about letting go of pleasing everyone, chasing perfection, keeping up with trends and tech, worrying about what you can't control, comparing yourself to others, holding on to grudges, and pushing yourself to be productive every darn minute. And why let them go? Because shedding these burdens isn't just a relief. It's your golden ticket to a happier, freer life. Think about Margaret from Ohio, humming Sinatra on her porch swing, finally at peace, because she stopped running a race she didn't need to win. That's the magic we're after here. You see, after 70, you've earned something special, the right to live on your terms. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You've raised families, weathered storms, and collected a lifetime of stories. Now's the time to sit back, sip that coffee, and soak in the good stuff. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about grabbing hold of what really matters: your peace, your laughter, your joy. Life after 70 isn't about doing more. It's about loving more, resting more, and being the truest version of you. So, here's my encouragement. Take a deep breath and pick one thing from our list to release today. Maybe it's that old grudge or the pressure to master your smartphone. Whatever it is, let it float away like a leaf on the wind. You deserve that lightness. And hey, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's one thing you're letting go of to make room for happiness? Your story might just inspire another joyful senior out there. If this video hit home for you, give it a big old thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next chat. Let's keep this joy train rolling together, because at you next time.